Should we scrap free prescriptions for 60 to 65-year-olds in England? There are calls to bring the free prescription age in line with the age at which you can claim the state pension, which is now 66. Prescriptions are £9.90 per item, and having more OAPs pay. OAP, I'm 60 next year. It's not, nobody wants to be called an OAP, thanks. This is written by, someone 19. Would apparently raise more than £6 billion for the Treasury and could work towards plugging the deficit in the economy. But it could be an unpopular move, particularly in the wake of the government's decision to stop more than 10 million pensioners having the winter fuel payment, as we know. So, and here I wonder if Labour are a bit shell-shocked, actually, Harriet, and they're going to be thinking, oh, we can't do that as well.
I think they're probably, really reeling from the black hole that they've got to fill, but I don't think that this is likely to be one of the measures they'll be taking because of the sensitivity there's been about means testing the winter fuel allowance. As you said, the prescriptions are free for people over retirement age, or what retirement age used to be, because the idea was that as you get older you need more prescriptions, and because you're in retirement you're not earning and so you can't pay for them. So that was the
It's expensive,
the
it's nearly
basis.
a tenner, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hovering underneath that magic £10. And if people have to have quite a few prescriptions, then that can really mount up to be a lot more. So I think they're unlikely to do that move, but it has come out of step with the rest of the age limits, as people are working longer and they've got more healthy, but people are not to read that as a sort of signal that it's going to happen, because I think it's most unlikely to happen.
But what's so funny is in England, you've got to pay up until the age of 60. Mm-hmm. In Scotland and Wales, you don't pay whatever your age.
Oh.
Yeah. So if they said, OK, for England, you're now going to have to pay from 60, we'd be heading the English would be taken even further away from the Scottish and the Welsh. But then, as Harriet says, we've got this famous black hole now.
The black hole.
The black hole.
I think the reason why Labour are floating these sort of potential policies is because the majority of their voting base is young people to middle-aged people. So maybe let's hit the older generation. But I also don't believe that just because you hit 60, everyone should be able to. There are people that can actually afford to pay for their prescription. So I don't think as soon as you hit 60, you can get free prescription.
Well, they might not be earning, I suppose. They might not be working. Or maybe they will be working.
I think if you've got savings, it should be based on savings.
Oh, you're going to means test everything.
Not everything, but I think, if you've got a good few bob in the bank, you should pay your nine quid.
What's wrong with the idea that someone who's wealthy is paid tax and they've got every right to a benefit?
The black hole.
The black hole.
But at the same time, I think at a time like this is a horrendous idea. The optics, how the media will spin it, or, what they'll say. We've already seen the winter fuel. We're already potentially seeing, I don't know if it will come about, but, the single person allowance for council tax, which will really hit older people.
Well, that's an interesting one. You're living alone?
I'm living alone, so I will lose the benefit. I will.
But they've got to get it from somewhere, Harriet, don't they? That's the thing.
There's other places they can get it.
Where, out of interest?
Why isn't there a social media tax? There's so many other big giants that could be taxed that do need to, run their business here in the United Kingdom.
So tax Twitter for just existing?
Why not?
Well, listen, you won't find any votes in this studio against that, I don't think.
They make billions in advertising. They know that the British public are addicted to social media. Why can they not look at bigger people that can afford it?
I saw a story saying that they were about to do a social media levy and they were persuaded not to after intense lobbying. Ugh. Yeah, tell me about that. Anyway.
Well, I think they are going to look to make the situation fairer. And ironically, it used to be the case that the poorest people and the most acute poverty was amongst pensioners and the elderly. But actually, over the years, that has changed. And now the profile of poverty is families, often working families, but families with young children.
So interesting.
So to make the situation fairer and to make everybody better off, we do have to focus on families with young children. And the thing about the winter fuel allowance is that if you're trying to fill a black hole to actually stabilise the public finances, you have to find the money from somewhere. And it's very easy to say it shouldn't be from here, but then the issue is, well, where should it come from?
Well, they say growth. In the
And
election,
so,
we kept asking, and they kept saying growth. And everyone said, well, we're all trying to get the economy to grow. You can't bank on that.
there's the immediate problem of this financial year and making sure we end up in the year not, with the books completely unbalanced. So that's like an immediate sorting out the finances job. And then for the future, it's setting the economy for growth. And that's why they've got an investors conference, a summit that they're having next week, in order to listen to investors about what do you need for us to do as government to help create the climate where you can invest, and then that can drive growth.
I did see today, by the way, HS2, which we talked about so much, they're now going to have it, because they were going to have it starting in some place in the west of London, which no one had heard of, Old Oak Common. They're now saying it's going to start in Euston. There's a whole load of money required for that. I don't know if you get that from the private sector or what. I don't know.
It's so
but
packed there
to
as well.
dig that up.
Well, the
Sharon,
private sector really want that, and they want it going from Birmingham through to Crewe as well. And I think there's been years of indecision about that. So I think it's good that the Transport Secretary, Lou Hague, has got a grip on that.
But she needs to uncancel it then properly on north of Birmingham, because otherwise what's the point of it?
It's going to be Birmingham up to Crewe. It's not going to be HS2 that kind of, all guns blazing. It'll be like a different version, but there's going to be additional capacity. And apparently you won't notice that it's not going as fast as HS2 might have done.
Okay.
But the point is they are sorting things out. It's Prime Minister's questions later on today. And, I think I've had a flavour here of what Keir Starmer is going to get asked,
All right. Well, let's get more of a flavour. Sharon in Staffordshire, what about the prescriptions? If you say you're obviously in England, over 60, you'll have to pay until you're 66.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Morning.
Good morning, panel. Harriet and Lynn. It's always a pleasure to see Lynn. I've got to say that. It's always a pleasure to see Lynn. Now, Jeremy.
Yes.
Now, Jeremy, I've got to say this is absolutely shocking what the Labour Party are doing. Now, 60-year-olds have worked hard all their working lives, and now they want them to pay for their prescription. This is absolutely unfair. Why do they keep targeting people that are retiring or near to retirement, or
What Harriet was saying,
so
we've this situation now where the poorest tend to be families with young children, and 1 in 4 pensioners are millionaires. And as soon as I say that, I want to put my head in my hands. So I know people are going to start throwing things at the TV. But 1 in 4 pensioners is a millionaire.
Not cash.
No, but Jeremy, can I just say, Jeremy, please, why don't they take money from these refugees and asylum seekers? They can come into this country, get free prescription, see a GP, use that NHS straight away. Why don't they take from them?
I don't know that. What, you think that's fair or not fair?
No, they can't. They're supposed to not have any recourse to
NHS.
But if someone's sick, no one's going to deny them, and they're not going to pay, are they?
If you suddenly have a brain tumour, you're going to get treatment on the NHS.
Or your child's really ill or whatever.
Yeah, I don't get that. But I mean, the idea of putting a tax on migrants who arrive in small boats, how are they going to pay it, Sharon?
Jeremy, I'm just going to tell you this joke quickly. Now, I had a bad tooth and I had to go to a dentist. He prescribed some antibiotics for me, and I took it to the pharmacy and I had to come back and collect it. And there's me taking my credit card out to pay for it. And she said, "Madam, you don't need to pay for your prescription. You're over 60. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I've been paying for my prescription all the time."
But don't they ask you? Because when I go to the pharmacy, they always say, "Do you pay for your prescription?" Which I always think is a really weird question.
I know, because they
and I
don't.
now realise it's a polite way of saying, "Are you 60 or above?"
Yeah.
So now I'm going to get
obviously
offended.
Sharon looks very youthful, but I would say that this is not a thing this is not a thing yet. We're all discussing it as if it might be going to happen, and I think it's unlikely to happen. But I think before the budget, you always get all sorts of hairs running, and some people have said, well, why didn't Rachel Reeves bring the budget forward, because there's been so much uncertainty and so much question marks in the air. But I think it's because she wants to actually make sure that the sums are added up, and that the Office of Budget Responsibility has had time to go through them, and the economic figures they're absolutely sure of. So they want to get it right, but it's left a bit of a gap, which has been filled by a lot of speculation, which has worried people.
Yeah, but they also have this period of what they call purdah, where they don't talk about stuff. So she wants to keep her powder dry for now.
Yes, yeah.
But it's as you say, Harriet, there's so much speculation. Janet's in Lancashire. Were you a pharmacist, Janice?
I wasn't, Jeremy, no. I was a pharmacy technician.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty much the same thing to me.
No, not quite. but-
Okay, all right. Well, listen, what do you think of this? Charging people over 60?
Well, again, like the previous lady said, it's just another attack on people who've worked and paid all their well, the majority have worked and paid all their lives. Up to, when you were 60, yes, you get your free prescriptions, but that's the only thing you get until you're 66. So
Is that
I
right?
mean,
You don't get anything. You get a bit of free train travel, don't you, or not? You get a freedom
well, I
pass in.
wouldn't- I
No?
wouldn't know about that. I got a bus pass when I was 66.
Okay. I thought I could
and-
get. I thought I was going to get some sort of free travel on the tubes in. Oh,
that-
that's
I
six. Someone
don't
just
know,
told me
Jeremy.
66.
Oh.
Oh boy! So this is
You've
the one
got your
thing.
bike.
Janet, here's the thing. We're talking here. Everyone's going mad about tax rises. Do you think Labour should say, right, we're not doing any tax rises now because it's so unpopular. We're just going to do massive spending cuts?
No, not at all, Jeremy. The trouble is, I know we can't, we haven't got hindsight. If we did and we knew what Rachel Reeves was going to do, then we'd be able to plan. But it's just everything you
Not
read.
knowing.
She's
Yeah.
attacking the pensioners.
Yeah, I hear you, Janet. I hear you. Okay, Mike in Derby, last call on this. Hiya.
Hiya.
What about
Hi.
charging for pharmacy prescriptions?
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
They haven't done it yet,
I'm 75 now,
well, you'll be fine.
but I've been on my prescriptions for about 15 years,
Okay.
and I'm on 18 items a day.
What?
Can you
18?
imagine? Yeah,
But
I'm
what-
on
what's-
18 different types of medication a day because of the various things I've got wrong. Now, can you imagine how much that would cost me?
Well, yeah, I can. It would be 100.
And there's people out there who are in the same position as me. You know, this is getting absolutely ridiculous what this idiot's doing.
Yeah,
it
but
really is.
I do have to say what Harriet said, which is this is not been announced, and even if it was announced, it would be up from 60 to 66 in England. So you'd be okay above 66, and you're in your 70s, Mike. What's the most serious condition you've got? It's so much medication.
Yeah, I've got heart problems.
Okay.
I'm riddled with rheumatoid and osteoarthritis.
Wow.
And there's breathing problems and all sorts there. But
Yeah.
I won't
that's
go
a
into
lot.
the long
That's
list.
a big old.
But-
There's a good point there. It's not people just not getting one antibiotic at the chemist, Lynn. They're getting.
Exactly.
Mike's getting 17.
Yeah, and they're not all rich. It's talking about their assets as well. I have to put that into perspective as well.
Look, this is a big thing in this country. If you've got a £1 million house, are you a millionaire?
No.
You say no.
No.
I think you are.
No, okay, let's look at someone who
You can
is
sell it.
let's look at someone who's elderly quickly in a city. They've got no support system. You expect them at a certain age to upheaval, go somewhere else with no support system and try and sell their house at whatever age.
Yeah, good point. And that's excruciating business.